Let us stop using malas. Here's what works better. Together as a team, let us relaxingly recite. In these days of technological terrors, we can easily time our meditation using the stopwatch app on our smartphones. In days of yore, however, one might time one's meditation session by burning one or two or three sticks of incense one after the other. This method of crease counting, however, was inspired by the techniques practiced by many Bengalis. Those of us living in countries enduring a rise in fascism know that although cranky officials in polyester could confiscate both smartphones and rosaries alike, we'll most always have our hands. And by extension, this means of practicing crease counting. Those who have endured disabilities, numerous and lifelong, are often drawn to the energy work of Taoism as well as Tantric Buddhism. Although they could influence their body's channels, winds and drops, or nadi, prana, bindu in Sanskrit, through visualization and invocation. The easiest and most therapeutic method is to use the finger gestures or mudra that are part and parcel of this practice, Bengali crease counting. Beginning with the first pillar over the span of 12 inhalations, we could touch the tip of our right thumb to the lowest, middling, and uppermost sets of creases upon its little finger. It could then count likewise upon the ring, middle, and index fingers. One moment, if you please. I think this is an excellent editing opportunity. Together. Continuing with the second pillar, we could count sets of 12 inhalations each with our left thumb. To count 4 sets, we could touch the tip of our left thumb, and once again, another editing opportunity. To count 4 sets, we could touch the tip of our left thumb to the lowest set of creases upon the index, middle, ring, and little fingers of our left hand. Yes, to count 8 sets, we could touch both the lowest and middling sets of creases upon the 4 fingers of our left hand. And even count 12 sets by touching the lowest, middling, and uppermost sets of the creases upon the 4 fingers of the left hand. But typically, we'll only count the 4 sets of 12 inhalations each. Finishing with the third pillar, we could gather 5 collections. Of 4, 8, or 12 sets of 12 inhalations each, in a manner that gently, therapeutically, and sustainably influences our channels, winds, and drops. Okay, and one, please bear with me. Okay, let's do this. One. Okay. Let's hit cut. And this is going to take a minute. Sorry, guys. Sorry about that, Chief. Let's hit cut. Paste. Okay, I think that's it. Cowabunga, let's go for it. Let's go for it. Whoops. That's an error on my part. Okay, here we go. We could rest the great... This looks like too many editing opportunities, guys. I apologize. Okay, here we go. Upon the tip of our left index finger, we could rest the great knuckle at the base of our right index finger, palms up in our lap. Doing so could gently invite our real or imagined subtle energies to automatically coalesce at the crown region of our head. Upon the tip of our left ring finger, We could rest the great knuckle at the base. There it is. I'm a little confused. Okay. We could rest the great knuckle at the base of our right ring finger, palms up in our lap. Doing so could gently invite our real or imagined subtle energy to automatically coalesce with the navel region of our mid-abdomen. Upon the tip of our left middle finger, we could rest the great knuckle of our right middle finger, palms up in our lap. Doing so could gently invite our real or imagined subtle energies to automatically coalesce, at the heart region of our chest. This has been a bit of a clusterfuck, my friends, and I apologize for that. I'm sure next week will be much better. Let's continue. Upon the tip of our left little finger, we could rest the great knuckle at the base of our right little finger, palms up in our lap. Doing so could gently invite our real or imagined subtle energies to automatically coalesce in the bladder region of our lower abdomen. Although these actions might not bestow upon us the miraculous actions of a Tolkien fever dream, they could assist our body's practice of the Buddha's mindfulness and meditation. Having completed the somewhat disastrous attempt at reciting the opening lesson, it is time now to shift gears. It is Obi-Wan Kenobi Wednesday evening. Come, let us meditate like a Jedi after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I have harnessed my autistic special interests as well as my ADHD hyperfixations to spend about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that I could become your nerdy, neurodivergent guide to nirvana. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. Good evening, Shivi. Let us play with the latest iteration of this evening's guided meditation. Please recite with me. Whatever comes, may all beings notice, relax, and flow. Whatever stays, may all beings notice, relax, and flow. Whatever goes, may all beings notice, relax, and flow. Welcome to the first of 4 mindful crease counting meditations. And at this point, by way of review, let's rest the tip of the left index finger. Let's try this again. Upon the tip of the left index finger, let us rest the great knuckle of our right hand, palms up in our lap. Doing so could gently invite our real or imagined subtle energies to automatically coalesce at the crown region of our head. Good evening. Let's discuss mindfulness. Each time we inhale, whether we know it or not, our sympathetic nervous system is wired to help us to notice in a very special way, to help us to notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. The most efficient way to practice mindfulness is to silently and mentally recite the verb noticing during each inhalation. And the most efficient way to practice meditation is to silently and mentally recite the 3-syllable verb relaxing during each exhalation. The moment you have a specific question about Buddhist recitation, Buddhist meditation, or Buddhist philosophy, do not hesitate to type your question in great detail in the chat window. Welcome to this evening's live stream. I'm going to take a moment to shift or switch texts. Please bear with me. Let us relaxingly recite an excerpt from the vast expanse of the Daimon-like mind, composed approximately 1400 years ago by Prahe Vajra, translated by Chokyo Namkai Norbu from the Tibetan, translated by Adriano Clemente from the Italian, adapted and amplified by yours truly. I think I made an error. Let's see if I can fix this real quick. 23, Control G, 23. The display is going to go berserk. That's just how it goes sometimes. And then let me correct the display. Okay. So let's recite this excerpt 4 times. Attachment, anger, and ignorance are neither good nor bad, but simply arise from the path of complete enlightenment. The 5 objects of enjoyment, too, are said to be an ornament of the Dharmata dimension. There's a lot of weird ideas here. Let me see if I can try explaining this. We will return to the first triplet together. Attachment, anger, and ignorance are neither good nor bad, but simply arise from the path of complete enlightenment. Okay, so here, oopsie, let's try that again. So here's how this works. The rigid, the literalists tell us that it's bad to be confused, it's bad to be attached, it's bad to be angry. And many of these people advise us to repress those emotions, to either space out or to contemplate things that are their so-called virtuous opponents. But that was never the Buddha's intention. The Buddha's intention was quite different. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever attachment we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could feel less permanent and less identifying and less solid. And so we can see that attachment could actually serve us on the path of complete enlightenment. The same can be said for anger and ignorance. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever anger we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could feel less permanent, less defining, less solid. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever ignorance or confusion or befuddlement we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could feel less permanent, less defining, less solid, less tangible. And the great irony is that which can be really unpleasant sometimes can still serve us, kind of like a workout. Very few workouts are blissful, but they still are productive. Now let's recite the second triplet. The 5 objects of enjoyment, too, are said to be an ornament of the Dharmata dimension. What does that mean? That as we notice and relax in harmony with our inhalation and our exhalation, we can find that beauty is appearing yet not graspable, that harmony is resounding yet not graspable, that pleasure is sensual yet not graspable, that flavors, that the delicious can be flavorful yet non-graspable, and that that which smells amazing, although fragrant, could be non-graspable. Dharmata is just one of many nicknames for the mastery of awareness and release, getting so good at noticing and relaxing that we are able to practice it spontaneously, habitually, easily, and effectively. So now that we have a better idea of what these two triplets are discussing, let's recite them 2 more times together. Attachment, anger, and ignorance are neither good nor bad, but simply arise from the path of complete enlightenment. So let me shed some greater light on this. We notice and we relax in harmony with our inhalation and our exhalation. So the times we notice attachment, and there'll be times we let go of attachment, and so forth and so on. And so noticing something unpleasant does not mean we've varied from the path. It actually means we're practicing the path. Let's continue. The 5 objects of enjoyment, too, are said to be an ornament of the Dharmata dimension. Last repetition. Attachment, anger, and ignorance are neither good nor bad, but simply arise from the path of complete enlightenment. The 5 objects of enjoyment, too, are said to be an ornament of the Dharmata dimension. So here's a quick editing opportunity. Upon the tip of our left middle finger, we could rest the great knuckle at the base of our right middle finger, palms up in our lap. While I'm at it, be right back. Oof. All the way down. Okay. So, once again, upon the tip of our left middle finger, we could rest the great knuckle at the base of our right middle finger, palms up in our lap. Doing so could gently invite the real or imagined subtle energies to automatically coalesce at the heart region of our chest. Let's continue discussing mindfulness. During each inhalation, evolution has wired our sympathetic nervous system, ensconced within the middle third of our spinal cord, to help us to vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice mind's antics, such as perceptions, sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, and scents. During each exhalation, evolution has wired the parasympathetic nervous system, ensconced within the lower third and the upper third of that same spinal cord, help us to both physically relax and mentally release. Therefore, the easiest way to practice mindfulness is to silently and mentally recite the verb noticing during each inhalation. And the most efficient way to practice meditation is to silently and mentally recite the verb relaxing during each exhalation. And remember, the moment you have a specific question about Buddhist recitation, Buddhist meditation, or Buddhist philosophy, do not hesitate to type your question in great detail in the chat window. Let's practice. Let us relaxingly recite this selection, this passage, 4 times. Space is beyond the arising of thoughts, yet thought itself is like space. Without attachment, from space dedication, one's great aim manifests as space. All right, let's return to the first couplet. Space is beyond the arising of thought. Thought itself is like space. Okay, this was written for an audience who is well versed in Buddhism. So if it doesn't make sense to you the first time you look at it, please do not beat yourself up. This has two meanings. The first line is space is beyond the rising of thought. What does that mean? This is a reference to wisdom. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever we noticed during our previous inhalation, whether that which we noticed was a sight, sound, a sensation, a flavor, or a scent, whether that which we noticed was an emotion, an intention, a thought, a memory, or an imagining, whether that which we noticed was external or internal, physical or mental, pleasurable or painful, interesting or boring, glorious or grotesque. As we relax into our exhalation, it can begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable as a vast, empty space. Like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although is tantalizing to the eye, is non-graspable to the hand. But wait, there's more. Many people have the misfortune of receiving teachers who are just as rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel as themselves. And these people are saying, oh, no, don't think, thought is bad, quick, stuff it down, way down, all the way down. But the irony is that of all the things that we can notice that are space-like, thought also. Great big scary thought, great big inconvenient thought, great big uncomfortable thought. Although it may be very, very vivid and poignant and seem eternal as we breathe in, as we breathe out and relax, that same thought can feel as non-graspable as vast open space. But wait, there's more. So not only are thoughts as non-graspable space, thoughts do not hinder our capacity to practice the wisdom of letting go. Au contraire, thoughts can fuel our practice. This is a reoccurring theme. Let's continue with the word with. Without attachment from space dedication, one's great aim manifests as space. The great aim would be a reference to enlightenment. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever attachment we noticed during our previous inhalation could feel as non-graspable as a vast open space. We don't need to recite or chant or sing heart-rending, carping prayers, beseeching real or imagined entities to bestow enlightenment from on high. The most efficient prayer of dedication is not a prayer at all. It's simply the practice. When we practice noticing and relaxing in harmony with our inhalation and our exhalation, when we practice it correctly and enthusiastically, at least once every 12 hours or so, then enlightenment becomes an inevitability. But what is enlightenment? Enlightenment is not some great lobotomy wherein we never feel anything yucky ever again. Au contraire. Enlightenment is nothing more than simply mastering the Eightfold Path, whose essence is awareness and release. Getting so good at noticing and relaxing that we practice it spontaneously, habitually, easily, and effectively. Okay, 2 more repetitions. Here we go. Space is beyond the arising of thought, yet thought itself is like space. What a delicious irony. Without attachment, from space dedication, one's great aim manifests as space. Space dedication simply means that our noble desires to become a Buddha, that we might be a better partner, parent, neighbor, or friend, is as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Last repetition. Space is beyond the arising of thought, yet thought itself is like space. Without attachment, from space dedication, one's great aim manifests as space. Excuse me. Upon the tip of our left ring finger, we could rest the great knuckle at the base of our right ring finger, palms up in our lap. Doing so could gently invite our real or imagined subtle energies to automatically coalesce at the navel region of our mid-abdomen. Every time we inhale, our sympathetic nervous system is wired to help us to vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice mind's antics of perception, emotion, intention, cognition, recollection, and imagination. During each exhalation, our parasympathetic nervous system has evolved to support both physical relaxation as well as mental release. Therefore, during each inhalation, let us silently and mentally recite noticing, and during each exhalation, let us silently and mentally recite relaxing. We've come now to this evening's final recitation. Let's make the most of it. The equality that is freedom from thought is the Dharmakaya, non-graspable as the moon's reflection on water. Awareness is Samantabandhara like energy. They take two. Awareness is Samantabandhara like energy manifestation is as profoundly displayed as the vowels and syllables of speech. The equality that is freedom from thought is the Dharmakaya, non-graspable as the moon's reflection on water. Let us discuss freedom from the tyranny of thought. When thoughts control our choices and our utterances and our deeds, it can kind of suck the joy out of life. However, when we not only notice our thoughts, but relax into our thoughts, not only do those same thoughts begin to feel, at least fleetingly, as non-graspable as the moon's reflection on water, which is appearing yet void, but as a fringe benefit of training in this awareness and release, our thoughts no longer control our choices, utterances, and deeds, and instead they flow effortlessly from love's centered spontaneity. That's the freedom the Buddha offers us. How does the word equality factor into this? Whatever freedom we notice as we relax into our exhalation, whatever tyranny we noticed during our inhalation could feel as non-graspable as the moon's reflection on water. Similarly, as we relax into our exhalation, whatever liberation we notice during our previous inhalation could likewise feel as non-graspable as the moon's reflection on water. Once again, the word Dharmakaya is just one of two very, very popular nicknames for the mastery of awareness and release. Let's begin relaxingly reciting with the word awareness. Awareness's Samantabandhara-like energy manifestation is profoundly displayed as the vowels and syllables of speech. Samantabandhara literally translates as all good one. Whatever we notice, as long as we notice and relax in harmony with our inhalation and exhalation, then whatever we notice, whether it is pleasurable, painful, interesting, or boring, cannot harm us. It can only benefit us. Thus, the dynamo of noticing and releasing transforms whatever we notice into something good and useful and safe and beneficial. And that's good because we are awareness machines. We have evolved to notice that which is without and that which is within and that which is actual and that which is fantastic and all points in between. And all that we notice is as non-graspable as speech, which is resounding. It is non-graspable as a vast empty void. Together. The equality that is freedom from thought is the Dharmakaya, not graspable as the moon's reflection on water. Awareness's Samantabhadra-like energy manifestation is as profoundly displayed as the vowels and syllables of speech. The equality that is freedom from thought is the Dharmakaya, non-graspable as the moon's reflection on water. Awareness's Samantabhadra-like energy manifestation is as profoundly displayed as the vowels and syllables of speech. Upon the tip of our left little finger, we could rest the great knuckle of our right little finger, palms up in our lap. Doing so could gently invite the real or imagined subtle energies to automatically coalesce at the bladder region of our lower abdomen. Every time we inhale, our sympathetic nervous system is wired to help us vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice all manner of things. From the external to the internal, from the physical to the mental, from the pleasurable to the painful, from the interesting to the boring, from the glorious to the grotesque. Every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, our parasympathetic nervous system has evolved to support both physical relaxation as well as mental release. During each inhalation, let us silently and mentally recite noticing. During each exhalation, let us silently and mentally recite relaxing. Welcome aboard to the tail end of this evening's live stream. Remember, the moment you have a specific question about Buddhist recitation, Buddhist meditation, or Buddhist philosophy, do not hesitate to type your question in great detail in the chat window. There are those who ape Hamlet from Shakespeare's play and proclaim that they must be cruel to be kind. but that's just so much malarkey. Love, spontaneous, centered love, is the litmus test of our practice of mindfulness and meditation. If we stomp and snort and strive to dominate, manipulate, and coerce others, we are traversing the path of being rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. It is folly and does far more harm than good. Practice mindfulness and meditation correctly, and more you will be defined by being flexible, loving, rational, laid back, lucid, egalitarian, cooperative, and kind. You have taken your first step into a much larger world. Wrong button. Doggone it. Let's try that again. You've taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 13 hours, I would very much like to return to lead tomorrow's morning meditation class and group practice. Excuse me. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.